Do I think she made some mistakes along the way? I do. She made quite a few mistakes along the way.
When she landed a big role like this and realized that this is not the character that she really wants to portray.
And I feel like, especially with people like this that have like these types of viewpoints, I don't see her coming back from this at all. I think she is totally cooked with this.
She should have given that role to someone who really understands that character and loves that character.
Rachel Zegler walked on stage to cheers. Seconds later, she was drowning in booze. Cameras rolled. Her smile vanished. And right there, under the spotlight, she cracked. But this wasn't just one bad night. This was the moment months of backlash exploded in public. So what really pushed fans to turn on her like this? Not long ago, Rachel Zegler was Hollywood's newest obsession. She wasn't a child star or industry insider. She was discovered on YouTube and cast by Steven Spielberg himself. West Side Story made her a breakout name. Then Disney handed her the lead in the Snow White remake. 2 dream roles. Back to back. Stardom looked inevitable. The media called her the future of Hollywood. She had the voice, the talent, the look. Red carpets, awards buzz, magazine covers. Everything was lining up. Studios weren't just promoting her, they were betting on her. But behind that rapid rise was a quieter story. Whispers that something felt off. Interviews that didn't land. Comments that rubbed people the wrong way. At first, it was small, a few Twitter threads, some side-eye from fans. But momentum was shifting. She still looked like the golden girl. But the shine was already starting to wear thin.
Honestly, girl boss narratives suck. They are either overpowered, poorly written, forced down the audience's throat, and it just looks like I'm staring at TikTok modern women posts that always talk about men are trash, men are this, men are that. They finally got the opportunity to do that, especially with this buffoon right here. I still don't know why she's still alive. And before you start saying I'm sexist, here are some well-written female characters. This woman right here is way better. So is she. And her too. Man, I love this girl, honestly. She couldn't fit in the background, but Debbie is definitely number one.
At first, it was subtle. A side comment in an interview. A clipped answer on the red carpet. The kind of moments most celebrities brush off without a second thought. But with Rachel Zegler, those moments didn't fade. They echoed. A growing corner of the internet started dissecting everything she said. Not because it was scandalous, but because it felt off.
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have when I say that this has been the biggest adjustment of my life. Like understanding the way my life operates now, being who I am, and the things that I've been so fortunate to make. It comes with so much ground that I never thought I would be able to cover, and that people think I'm doing poorly, and other people think I'm doing gracefully, and I don't think I'm doing it at all.
One of the earliest red flags, her tone. In press junkets, she came off more serious than expected, critical, especially when discussing the Snow White remake. She spoke openly about redefining the role, calling the original film weird and outdated. For some, it sounded like progress. For others, it felt like disrespect. A classic fairy tale, beloved by generations, being dismissed by someone who hadn't even earned her stripes yet. That didn't sit right. And it wasn't just one quote. More interviews followed. Sound bites started going viral. Not because they were bold, but because they were easy to twist. She hates Disney, people claimed. She's ungrateful. Too woke. Suddenly, the same press tour meant to promote her was being used against her.
Girl power, girl boss. Everyone needs to be a strong, independent woman that don't need no man. And everybody is tired of that. Everybody is sick of that. And everybody is ganging up on Rachel. She dealt with some really, really severe backlash, which I can kind of understand. But me personally, I'm not under the impression that she wasn't maybe coached to make this happen, to create some type of a draw for the movie. Because this is the narrative that Disney particularly is trying to push.
TikTok edits exaggerated every raised eyebrow. Twitter threads broke down her every word. The narrative was shifting fast, and Zegler didn't help it. She rarely clarified, She didn't lean into humor or self-awareness. Instead, she doubled down. And to some viewers, that looked like arrogance. Behind the scenes, Hollywood was still rooting for her, but the court of public opinion had started its own trial. And online, it doesn't take much to become the villain. People weren't just disagreeing with her. They were waiting for her to slip up.
Rachel Zegler is back in the news because her PR team is working overtime right now to fix her image because so many of these resurfaced video clips of her just make her look really, really bad. What matters here is perception. Who she actually is actually has little consequence on any of this. How she's perceived by the world. That's what matters.
Right.
And how she's perceived by the world is not good because she hasn't been able to escape these interview clips, which show a clear disdain for the company she works for, a clear disdain for the story in which she's been hired to help portray and tell. Who she is really has little bearing on any of this. At the end of the day, Disney doesn't care who she really is. I'm sure the people that love her are her friends and family. She's plenty nice to them. That's not what matters here.
By the time Snow White buzz reached its peak, the conversation had changed completely. It wasn't about the movie anymore. It was about her, who she was, how she spoke, what she represented. And for an actress still early in her career, being the face of that kind of backlash is more than uncomfortable. It's dangerous. The glossy image of Hollywood's next darling had started to blur. Not from scandal, not from some career-ending mistake, but from a slow drip of frustration. An audience that once admired her now questioned her. And all it would take to tip things over was a moment. One unscripted, unfiltered moment. That moment was coming, and it wouldn't be quiet.
Yeah, well, we're busy, of course. Vita opens at the Palladium this summer, so we're collaborating with Jamie Lloyd again following Sunset Boulevard. Well, Rachel was desperate to play Eva Peron. You know, it was her idea, and we saw an audition tape, and she was absolutely sensational. You know, she worked with our musical supervisor in New York on the material. Her versions of the songs were terrific. Jamie's excited, Andrew and Tim are excited. So, I mean, it should make for a fabulous summer at the Palladium. Ticket sales are already, through the roof. So we're really thrilled about that.
If Rachel Zegler's public image was showing cracks, the internet was more than ready to tear it wide open. This wasn't just backlash. It was digital wildfire. One clip here, a tweet there. Suddenly, Rachel wasn't trending because of her work. She was trending because people couldn't stop mocking her. The jokes came first. Sarcastic memes about her Snow White comments. Side-by-side edits of her interviews next to classic Disney quotes, with captions like, "The princess who hated her own story." Then came the TikToks, thousands of them. Users mimicking her speech patterns, exaggerating her tone, making content out of her every appearance.
And to everyone who hates when I win, the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still lined up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Entire pages were built just to clown on Rachel Zegler. And the worst part, it wasn't just trolls. It was fans, former supporters who felt let down. People who wanted to like her, but felt like she didn't like them back.
A lot of what you see with Zegler is really just a pretty common Gen Z mentality and approach to work. She believes that she should be able to express herself and speak her truth or whatever nonsense, regardless of the consequences to everybody else. In reality, you have a job. You're getting paid to do this job. You signed on the dotted line. You took on the role. And that job comes with certain basic responsibilities. And one of the most basic is the responsibility to control yourself and comport yourself a certain way publicly so that you don't harm the project, thereby harm all the hundreds of other people who are working on it.
Her interviews came off too serious, too dismissive, too scripted. In a media landscape obsessed with relatability, Rachel started to feel like the exact opposite. Out of touch, overly polished, and strangely cold. Reddit threads started popping up, dissecting her every move. Why does Rachel Zegler rub people the wrong way? Is she ungrateful or just misunderstood? Even neutral posts turned ugly fast. There was no benefit of the doubt anymore. Every clip became ammo. Every silence, suspicious.
Disney, get your girl. Rachel Zegler is making it very difficult to be excited for the new Snow White movie that's supposed to come out next year. If you are living under a rock, there's been a lot of controversy about the fact that Rachel Zegler is playing Snow White in the film. That's not where my problem comes. I'm all for it. Go for it. But what she's doing in press, and these are interviews that I believe were done before the actors' strike, but of course are now being brought up on the internet. She's basically talking about how much she didn't like the actual original movie, even saying that it scared her, and then talking about how the love story in this isn't really going to be at the forefront, that the prince, yes, has been cast, he's in it, but might be cut, Hollywood, and that the prince in the original film was problematic and was creepy because he was stalking Snow White. I just can't believe that Disney's PR hasn't silenced her on this yet. The live-action movies already have a problem where people are kind of over them and they don't like the changes that are being made from the originals to these. And with this one, we're definitely going to see some change.
One of the most viral edits showed her confidently declaring she wasn't going to sit around waiting for a prince, followed by a montage of comments like, "You are Snow White, though, and then why take the role?" It wasn't about disagreement. It was about turning her into a symbol of everything people thought was wrong with modern Hollywood. Too political, too self-important, too disconnected from fans. Rachel wasn't just getting hate, she was becoming content. And that's when things get truly dangerous. Because once the internet starts feeding off your downfall, it doesn't stop. Not when you apologize. Not when you stay silent. Not even when you try to pivot. It just keeps spiraling. She wasn't canceled in a single moment. There was no huge scandal. No illegal drama. Just a slow, brutal erosion of public trust, amplified by algorithms, repackaged into bite-sized mockery, and served up daily to millions. And all of it, every meme, every thread, every sarcastic duet, was leading to the moment no one expected, when those boos would finally leap out of the screen and into real life. The shift from digital hate to real-world backlash was sudden and brutal. It happened during what should have been just another press event. Zegler took the stage, dressed in designer, stepping out with that signature poised smile. But the second she opened her mouth, it hit. Boos. Loud. Immediate. Unmistakable. At first, she tried to smile through it. That Hollywood-trained composure held for maybe 2 seconds. Then came the pause. The eye twitch. The flicker of confusion. Cameras flashed, but there was no applause to drown them out. The noise wasn't celebratory. It was rejection. And worse, it was public. People in the crowd said she froze. Her hands trembled. Her eyes darted. It wasn't a breakdown in the dramatic sense. No shouting or storming off. It was quiet, sad, human. Her voice cracked mid-sentence. She tried to continue, then stopped, and just stood there. For a full 8 seconds, the internet counted. She didn't say a word. Those 8 seconds were all it took. Clips went viral within minutes. Rachel Zegler booed live, flooded Twitter. TikTok edits turned it into instant content. Some creators added music, others slowed it down, turning her silence into a cinematic tragedy. But no matter how it was framed, the message was clear. The internet had come for her, and now the real world had followed. That moment, standing alone, blinking back tears under stage lights, became the visual symbol of her fall. Not because she deserved it, but because it confirmed what the internet had been whispering. Rachel Zegler wasn't just unpopular anymore. She was publicly rejected, and once that narrative takes hold, it's hard to shake. In the days that followed, something strange happened. Silence. Rachel didn't post. Disney didn't comment. Her team stayed completely quiet. No damage control. No statements. Just a digital void where her voice used to be. At first, people waited, scanned her Instagram, refreshed her Twitter. Surely there'd be something, a comment, a repost, a meme turned into a joke to win people back. But nothing came. The silence became its own story. YouTubers made reaction videos. Podcasts debated whether her PR team had abandoned her. And every hour she stayed quiet, the takes got hotter. She's spiraling. She's planning a comeback. She's gone full ghost. But here's the truth. Sometimes silence isn't strategy, it's survival. When you're the face of a multi-million-dollar franchise, every word becomes a weapon. And after a moment that raw and public, saying nothing might be the only option left. Still, the longer she stayed quiet, the louder the internet got. And the question hovering over everything wasn't, why did this happen? It was, what happens next? For fallen stars, there's a familiar path: reinvention. Lean into lifestyle content. Post candid selfies. Start a podcast. Embrace the relatable era. It works, sometimes. But for Rachel, that path isn't so simple. She wasn't famous for being famous. She wasn't a TikTok hair-turned actress. She was a Broadway-trained singer, an actress handpicked by Spielberg. Her whole brand was built around performance, prestige, and legacy. Becoming a vlogger, it doesn't fit the mold. That's the trap. If she tries to become a relatable internet creator now, it risks looking desperate, like she's chasing the audience that rejected her instead of redefining herself on her own terms. And yet, doing nothing could be even worse. In the age of content, silence fades fast. The safer move, maybe the only real move, is to step back, not just from social media, but from the spotlight entirely. No more interviews, no more red carpets, just the work, quiet indie roles, theater, a new project where she's not the headline, just a name in the credits. It's not glamorous, but it might be the only way to rebuild. Here's the thing, Hollywood loves a redemption arc. Stars fall all the time, but the ones who rise again don't fake humility. They live it. They stop trying to control the narrative and start being part of the mess. They own their flaws, let people see the real version, not the press-trained one. And that's Rachel's only real shot. Not through a calculated rebrand, not through a carefully curated video, but through something raw, honest, maybe even uncomfortable. A single unscripted moment where she doesn't defend or explain, just shows up fully human. Because that's what people never got from her. Vulnerability. The kind that can't be rehearsed. The kind that doesn't live in sound bites. The kind that says, yeah, I got it wrong. Here's where I go from here. It's risky, but so is doing nothing. Right now, the spotlight that once lit Rachel's path is flickering. Not out, just shifting. She still has time. People are still watching, but not for long. If she disappears completely, the story ends. Quietly. No scandals. No legacy. Just another name the internet ate alive and forgot. But if she shows up, not as a brand, not as a product, but as a flawed, complicated, real person, there's a chance. A narrow one, but real. Because whether you love her, hate her, or just can't stop watching, the truth is simple. She's still here. The question is, for how much longer? So, what do you think? Is Rachel Zegler facing a redemption arc or a silent fade into Hollywood's past? Drop your thoughts in the comments. No holding back. And if you want more real stories behind the spotlight, make sure to subscribe. Because this is only the beginning.